Okay. Hello, I'm Pat Armstrong, Director of International Strategic Market Research for MedDevice. Nice to meet you, Mr. Lee. Thank you for meeting with me.
Yeah, thank you.
Your time is greatly appreciated. I've heard great things about you. It is my hope that we will achieve a joint proposal that you and I will both be happy with, and then we'll be able to pass it off to Mr. Thompson and Mr. Lee the next time you meet.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I appreciate your time as well. From my understanding, my dad and Mr. Thompson spoke, and they, concocted this joint venture. And the goal for us today is to kind of come up with a quasi joint proposal for them to review, and for us to, look into integrating together to, you kind of pushed MedLee into the forefront in the Southern Asian market, as far as medical devices go. So we're excited and we look forward to working with you all, and I hope everything goes well.
Excellent. We're very excited as well. From my understanding, we have 4 points that we have to hammer out. We have to discuss decision-making and control,
Mhm.
staffing, profit distribution, and then conflict resolution mechanisms. Is that your understanding as well, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Would you like to start and just take them individually, or would you like to do you have any preference?
Yeah. I think since we have a couple issues to go over, I think we should just kind of piecemeal it one by one, and
Okay.
you can kind of hash it out that way. If something arises to where we come at an impasse, or if we stall, I think we should just kind of push forward on other
Okay.
topics, and see if we can kind of jump back to those. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Um,
Perfect.
all right. So with decision-making control, I'd like to share with you our vision. Mr. Thompson brought up the idea of having a board of directors. The major decisions would, of course, be handled by a general manager, the majority approval by the board of directors, who would be appointed by Mr. Lee and Mr. Thompson, would be there as well.
Mhm.
3 would be appointed by MedDevice, 2 by Lee Medical, and then each of the board members would have 1 vote each, with majority rules. Is that something that's acceptable to you, Mr. Lee?
Okay. So for us, um, that's kind of a little bit different from the vision that we had in mind. As
Okay.
you know, we are a small family-owned business. For us in our Asian culture, that's something that we hold dearly. We trust our employees. We like to keep our employees close as well. We kind of like to make decisions amongst each other.
Mhm.
So the vision that we had in mind would be, there would be a GM that was in charge of day-to-day operations, and
Mhm.
then any major decisions that affected the company, it would be made by consensus of my dad, Mr. Lee, and Mr. Thompson.
Okay.
So,
So,
Mr. Lee, although we respect the family business that you have built up over the decades, uh, there is a problem with that, in that now this venture is going to be between a multinational corporation and a family business, and
Mhm.
so um, it- there there has to be a different approach taken um, in this manner regarding this. And so that is why we feel strongly about a general manager who makes the major decisions along with a board of directors. We insist on the 3 board of directors picked from our side and 2 from your end, not only because we are 60% partners um, in this uh, in this venture, but also because we are a multinational corporation selling high-end medical equipment in different parts of the world. We bring that expertise, and we can apply it directly, and we can help the company grow rapidly. And I believe that this is also a great opportunity for your company to uh, make to assert itself on the Southeast Asian market, and definitely dominate in the next few years, be a dominant player. And so we are bringing our expertise right to your doorsteps, and uh, that will allow you to grow at a very rapid pace. And so that's why we insist on the terms that we just brought forth.
So for us, we do understand that you all did contribute 60% of the capital provided for this venture. But along with our 40%, we feel that we are providing something invaluable as well, which is knowledge of the market, without which we truly do believe that this venture has no chance of survival. Our unique expertise makes our total monetary and non-monetary contribution to the joint venture worth at least as much as the 60% that you referenced to. So for that reason, we think that the joint decision making should be of equal power. I do understand that you all would like a board of directors. Is it possible that we could do a 3-by-3 board of directors um, and consisting of 3 of our employees or 3 of our appointed board members and 3 of your appointed board members?
Well, if you have 3 and 3, you're going to have ties. So you want an odd and even number. Would you be willing to go 3 of yours to 2 of ours, with the final say if there's any kind of really significant issues going between Mr. Lee and Mr. Thompson? Because that way you guys could have the influence as far as because you do have all the on the ground experience. You know all the networks, you know all the legal ramifications and all the channels you have to go through to distribute these goods. This way you could have your family influence, but you still have a board of directors with strong individuals from med device influencing your decisions, with the final decisions being made if there's something significant. And by significant, I mean something that's going to hinder operations needs to be addressed by Mr. Lee and Mr. Thompson. Would that be something you would consider? And still have a board make the first decisions, or the decisions after the general manager. So you've got your general manager, then you've got your board, and then you've got Mr. Lee and Mr. Thompson settling anything that has to come to that.
I think we could work with that.
Okay.
And so the general manager will be appointed by Med Device. However, there will be another manager who will work as an advisor and also help with the day-to-day operations, which will be appointed by MedLee. So that will also help with the bringing in more of the influence of MedLee into the venture. So are you okay with that?
You're saying that you all would like to send a rep over to the southeastern market to act as general manager, who will have sole day-to-day decision-making power?
Yes, and they will be advised by a manager who will be appointed by MedLee. Lee Medical. And we feel that since we're giving you 3 seats on the board of directors, you'll have majority say. So it'd probably be fair to have a general manager who is appointed by us. And you will also have a manager working with the general manager who will be appointed from your end also.
So for us, the issue with that is the cultural component. As you know, we are small staffed, and we've been working with our employees for a long time. My dad trusts those employees, and they also trust my dad in the vision of the company. Is it possible for us to do co-GMs, or is that not something you are willing to do? Because I can see it being an issue if we bring in someone new who is running day-to-day operations, who doesn't understand holistically our culture or our employees, which would then affect the day-to-day operations that the day-to-day operations of the staff.
That is something that we can reflect on and come back to later. In the meantime, we can go on to other matters. I think the regular office staffing, such as the salespersons, secretaries, whatnot, that we will need.
Okay. All right. And as far as the sales rep goes, again, within the market, we have those connections. So I think that that's a position that we are better suited for because we speak the language, we know the individuals, we have access to the market. I just think that that's just an easy flow. And we're willing to have someone in that position and also then give you all someone who or put someone in a position to be a financial analyst from your end, if that makes sense.
Okay. Now, as far as the salespersons, we are looking to cover the markets of Malaysia, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, and I believe there's one more I am missing.
Yeah, so we cover. So we're familiar with all of Southeast Asia. We have cultural connections and components in each sub market.
Okay, so it will be no problem for you to cover all the regions that I just mentioned.
Yes, sir. Would it be? Yeah, I believe so. To have a sales rep in that position, I think as we begin to move into different markets and expand, we will need to build a team, and we can kind of look at what that team will look like down the line. But having someone as the head, quasi head sales rep, I do believe that it's fundamental that they be someone familiar to the area and familiar with the culture of the area.
Okay. We were thinking that maybe we can have one of the sales rep be from our end. Obviously, they would be from our end. We mean we will appoint them. They will probably be a person of. There will definitely be a person who is local, who knows the language, has expertise in the medical device industry, and has a good sales track record. So, is it okay if we were thinking about hiring 4 reps, and 3 of them would be yours that you can pick, and one of them will be someone that we hire. Is that something that's acceptable?
Yeah, that's fine. So, and are you all looking to scale that, or are you all looking to have those 4 individuals, right off the bat? Because I think that's something that we probably need to scale.
I think that we should probably start with 4, and we'll probably have to add more as we go. We do have some excellent sales individuals who work with us already, and I'm quite certain that your team has excellent sales representatives as well. We can have someone train them on all devices and act as a reference point for them for the
Yeah.
devices that they'll be putting out there. But I think with the team that you have, how many sales representatives do you have? 3 sales representatives? I think you do, right?
Well, we have one in mind that we were thinking of starting with,
Okay.
and then we wouldn't be opposed to scaling from there. What we did think of as well too was that you all could bring in an executive as a subject matter expert to train our
hmm
employees as well, and they can serve in that role as a subject matter expert. And if we wanted to move them into the sales rep domain, if they have that skill set, then that's fine. But right now, we kind of want to kind of start small and scale as we begin to grow as a company.
Okay. We may need to bring in some more of our individuals to help work with your one to augment, and then they could branch out as needed as we scale up. But with the territory that we're covering, it's a lot for 2 people to cover. So 4 is probably the minimum for the areas that we're going to cover with the devices that we're selling. So if you would be okay with us starting off with 3 of the med device and then 1 of yours as well, 1 of who could be the subject matter. So 2 of our regular sales reps. No, I'm sorry. So that would we would probably need 3 regular sales reps, 1 sales rep from you, and then a subject matter expert to advise. Is that something that would be acceptable to you?
Yeah, so the initial option was for us to have 3 of our own sales reps.
Yes, sir.
So
But
could we start there and then have
yes,
someone come in and as a subject matter expert and train our 3?
yes, sir.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, no, we want to start off with a minimum of 4. So
Okay. Yeah, that's
that,
fine.
yeah, okay, yeah.
So,
It,
just so that I have it clear, our subject matter expert can transition into a sales role at a certain point.
Yeah, we're totally fine with that.
Okay.
All right. For us, that's all that we had for the staffing portion. Were there any other positions that you all had in mind?
office assistants. Did we cover office assistants?
Yeah, we would like 2 office secretaries who can help our managers with just regular office stuff, paperwork, reaching out to customers, all those, I guess, menial tasks that are absolutely necessary, without which we cannot operate as a business properly.
Yeah. Would you all like to do a 1-on-1 for that? Just so there's someone in position from your company, someone in position from our company. That way we have um like I always harks back to the area and the culture for us is that we have someone in position that can aid that person if they do come into roadblocks or anything like that culturally for us or understanding the region. So I think a 1-on-1 for that would be perfectly fine.
I do have a question about that. So the general managers, if we're having co-general managers, they'll each need their own assistants. And on top of that, the rest of the team are going to need assistants as well. So that brings it up to 4 office assistants slash secretaries.
Mhm.
Is that something that you guys are okay with?
Uh, yeah, that should be fine. I'll have to convince my dad. He likes to keep a small ship, but I think I
Oh, it's
can
going to get
convince him.
bigger.
Yeah, we're growing pretty fast with
You
this
are.
one meeting. So
So right now, to start off, we can have 2, and then as the need arises, we can hire more. And I also want to touch on one more thing. As we hire, as our company grows bigger and bigger, we will need to be hiring more individuals. Um, Now, does Mr. Lee intend to hire uh, uh, the staff for this venture, who are his relatives who might be working at Lee Medical right now?
yes, we think that it's only fair that we keep those individuals on, and also too, they are family. They've helped us grow up until this point to where we can go into this joint venture, and it would just be hard to kind of sever ties with them. And I don't think that that's something that we could not do at this point.
Okay. Because we are a publicly traded company, we believe in something called anti-nepotism, in which someone that we do not hire a relative of someone who is on a very high level at our company. So, for example, our boss cannot hire his son into the company because we want to set an example that everyone is getting a fair shot, not just those who might be related to someone in the company just because they have a high position. And so we believe that giving any we want to hire the most qualified individuals for the job because we believe that hiring the most qualified individual will eventually lead to success of the company. We do understand, however, that the family business that you have been running for decades has a legacy of hiring family members who have contributed immensely towards the success of your company. So keeping that in mind, keeping both of these points in mind, would you be agreeable on having some sort of objective metric or criteria that we can appraise, that we can do an annual review of the employees to see how they're doing and how they can improve? Because we do feel that constructive feedback is always valuable. So even though Mr. Lee wanted to hire people from his close circle, if we were to give do performance reviews that are objective in manner and give feedback, is that so that they can improve their performance? Is that something that you are willing to do?
So from our understanding, as this is a joint venture, the company will be based out of Thailand, correct? For
Mm-hmm.
us, and I'm not sure, the regulatory aspect of it as a whole, but I don't think that that's an issue that we typically come across from a regulatory standpoint. And I can tell you now that my dad is very traditional, and he would not. I don't think that he would. Plainly put, I don't think the success of the joint venture that we're on right now would not be successful if we were to do that. Because for my dad, the biggest thing is, from the traditional standpoint, keep family close, take care of family. And yeah, that's just been his motto for the longest of times. And that in our culture, that's kind of how we operate.
We did not mean to offend you, sir. We do understand that you have a very traditional set of guidelines that you guys work with. You take care of your family, and that's very important, and that's obvious. Um, keeps coming up, and you keep reinforcing family God has to come first. We get that. What we want to make sure as we take the corporation from a local to an international is that everybody has the skill set they need.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that I'm going to be sure that your family already has everything they need, as far as the skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
They have the education, they have the training needed to provide to perform their role.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be doing that otherwise. You wouldn't be acting as a vice president for your father unless you had worked to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But as an international company, we have to make sure that people coming in have the same skill set and they're up to the same skill set the standard that you have set for your company. So with the proposal that we're making, we do propose that we use a metric that evaluates individuals to make sure that they're okay and that they're capable, and we allow an ongoing training so that if they have an area that they need to improve, perhaps they could improve with that. The anti-nepotism is something that's very strong with our culture, and as we blend together, I'd like to find a way that we can make it work for both people. I think that we can satisfy our requirements if we can be satisfied that your individuals, your family members, have the skills that they need and they weren't just hired because they're family. I appreciate you have to take care of family, but then let's get them trained if they're not quite ready. But we may have to hire individuals outside of the family to fill roles if your family members can't quite do that yet.
Yeah. No, and I certainly understand. I guess the thing for me was the anti-nepotism and not hiring family. That's just something that we can't guarantee,
Okay.
because it's something that lives within our culture. I am open to yearly reviews and annual training, but to not hire someone because they are family, I think that would be hard for us to do. I do understand from your perspective why that is important, but also for us that is very important.
Be assured that we will not have any objection to someone just because they are a family member. However, at the same time, we would like all employees to meet certain standards. which would ultimately benefit the company. So I'm glad
Yeah.
you're okay with us having annual reviews and regular training so that skills can be kept up as far as and also performance.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. So that sounds like we've agreed on staffing.
Almost there.
Okay. Almost there. Okay. So profit distribution.
Hmm.
What we've talked to Mr. Thompson, and he mentioned no profits shall be taken for the first 5 years. With Med Device, we're a very large organization. We don't have to take a profit for the first 5 years. We really want this venture to work, and we want it to be successful. A lot of joint ventures do not make it. We want to break the odds. We want to make this work.
Hmm.
So we were hoping that we don't take a profit for the first 5 years, and that after that point, we can assess the direction of the venture that we want to go in. Is that something that's agreeable to you and your father?
So my dad had a little bit different perspective on that as well.
Okay. All right, let's
um,
hear it.
so he wanted flexibility with that, as we are typically a smaller operation. You know, our family, we basically are, it funds our family. And we were thinking of a need-based profit sharing perspective, which basically is at a point where we need capital or we need funds, we can take them out. At 5 years, I do think that that would be hard for us. Um, we
Okay.
are willing to meet in the middle somewhere. I don't know what it is, but I do have something in mind.
What do you have in mind?
Um, what if we did a end of year um, um, assessment of what the profits are, with the
Okay.
option to either take profits out end of year or parse those profits out over time?
Um, So our main idea behind not taking out any profits for the first 5 years is because we have a long-term vision for this enterprise, and we want I believe Mr. Lee would also agree, your father, that, and you also, that we want to make this venture one of the dominant players in the Southeast Asian market, and for that to happen, um, our the whatever profits that we make need to be reinvested into the business, and so that will only help to grow the business. If we were to share the profits at the end of each year, there would not be enough capital to have that growth trajectory that we are hoping for. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so um, uh, all the so that is the main idea behind us not wanting to keep have profits, not no profit sharing for the first 5 years, and this not having any profits will allow us to grow at a massive pace, and which will ultimately help your help Lee Medical, because once you establish that dominance in the Southeast Asian market, um, then you will really reap the rewards from there on. So I think the first few years are going to be absolutely crucial to our growth. Um, However, we are open to a little bit of wiggle room.
So what if we did a percentage?
That is what I was thinking as well. Uh, What percentage were you thinking of?
So I can't speak for my dad on that. What I
Okay.
would say is that, what if yearly he and Mr. Thompson set a percentage?
Is it an absolute must that every year a certain amount of profit must be taken out, must be shared?
Um, I can't say a certain amount. I would much rather have them to hash that out amongst themselves.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
That might be something he would agree to, Mr. Thompson, or
So
Mr. Robertson rather.
end of year percentage-based profit sharing to be determined by Mr. Thompson and Mr. Lee.
Mhm.
That works for us. Does that work for you all?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Conflict resolution mechanism. We
Yes.
discussed this a little bit about Mr. Lee and our boss discussing anything that was major that needed to be sorted. We would like to add that if they could not come to an amenable decision between them, that it would then go to either the international arbitration or it would go through the California court system because we're based in California. Is that something that would be acceptable to your father?
So my dad was
Sorry.
very specific with his instructions. He does not want to use courts or
Oh,
any his specific words were courts and other mechanisms that U.S. companies often seek should not be necessary. And the relationship between him and Mr. Thompson should preclude that. Those are his specific words.
but what if they do? What if they do become necessary? What would he like to do at that point? What if there's an impasse they can't get through?
If there's an impasse,
Yeah.
so for us, our thing is the way that we look at that. If they're at an impasse and they have to go to a court
Mm-hmm.
to have that resolution
Mm-hmm.
um, given to them,
Mm-hmm.
at that point, the trust in the structure of the joint venture then tends to break down. Would it be okay to kick it to the board, or would you all not agree to that?
It would have already gone through the board at that point.
You're correct. Okay.
And we can understand why Mr. Lee is apprehensive about taking it to the courts. And yes, it is a very big deal, and probably it can affect pride, personal pride, because you cannot, you feel like you couldn't solve something yourself, and that's why you have to seek, a legal recourse. Um, we completely understand that. However, there can be certain situations in business where you and your partner are unable to, agree upon on a certain matter that is a very crucial that's very crucial to the survival of the venture. And so that is why that's the need for the court, because for the court to intervene, because uh, we believe in the we believe that in the rule of law, and I'm sure your father does also. And so we would both respect whatever verdict that comes from it for a particular situation that is unresolved through all other means. And there would not, I wouldn't say that there's a breakdown of trust just because we had to go to the courts. We would still try to continue our relationship in this venture and grow it to new heights, because that is our ultimate aim, to be a dominant player in the Southeast Asia market. So I wouldn't say that there would necessarily be a breakdown of trust. We were just trying to get a third party, maybe instead of courts, a third party mediator. That's
Yeah,
you
that's what I was
know
gonna. That's what I was gonna
okay.
propose.
Okay.
As I was sitting here writing, one of the things that one of my partners and I do in real estate is we have a tiered level of defense. First line
Okay.
of defense would be me and him. Second line of defense would be an arbitrator or a mediator. Third line of defense would then be for either he or I to buy each other out because we've come to an impasse on something. If we can't come to an agreement and a mediator, how does that sound to you all?
I
That
think a
sounds good.
mediator and arbitrator is probably appropriate.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I think just as a recap, we've decided that for major decision making, the the general manager is going to have the first decision, then it's going to go to the board. Three who are going to come from Lee Medical, two from Med Device. Mr. Lee and Mr. Thompson are going to have the final say. There will be a joint GM, one from each. As far as the assistant manager, it's going to come from Lee Medical. And we're going to have four sales representatives, three from Lee Medical, one from Med Device, one subject matter expert who can transition to become a sales manager. As far as the assistants and secretaries, we had talked about the general managers needing two, and then two for regular offices. And I think someone said we're just going to have two for once. Is that the general managers are going to really need their own executive assistant? And is it okay if we have two
We're
for the
fine with
regular
it
office?
being 2 and 2. As
Two
long
and two?
as we
Okay.
can have two from our end and two from your end, we're fine with that.
Yes, definitely. Okay. Two from each. Got it. As far as the whole anti-nepotism rule that we have in the States, we're going to standardize operations. We're going to go through annual reviews, require regular training, and we're going to do our best to make sure that there is a blending of the cultural environments between our organization and yours so that nobody feels out of place and everybody feels like they have a place in the organization and they can grow. Profit distribution, they're going to discuss end of year assessment of profits with the option to either take profits out or distribute over time. There is a consideration to may limit the growth potential, but it's going to be evaluated at a annual percent. Is that what we came to? Yes. Okay. And for conflict resolution, we have a third party mediator. All right.
3 levels of defense.
3 levels of defense.
Yep. First line of defense is Mr. Lee and Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Lee. Yes.
Second line of defense is an independent mediator. And third line of defense, if there's an impasse beyond that, it's the option to either buy each other out or dissolve.
Hopefully it won't come to that. All
Just
right,
going
gentlemen.
back to the GM.
Yes, sir.
So instead of any decision that is made by the GM must be approved by the board of directors. That's my understanding. So since there are already 3 board members that are going to be coming from Lee's side and 2 from our side, is there a need for 2 co-GMs? Because if the GM that we are looking to appoint makes a decision that is not agreeable with Lee Medical, then they can always overrule that decision. So is there a need for 2 GMs?
We are willing to concede with 2 GMs since there's 3 board members from our end.
So, sorry, come again?
We are willing to concede the GM position since we have 3 board members coming from our end.
Okay.
Okay.
And you will also have another manager who's going to be working, who's going to be hired by Lee, who's going to be working with, who's going to be advising the GM.
Yes. So you all be the financial analysts. We have are you speaking of the assistant GM?
I guess, yeah, if you want to call him that.
Yeah. So the way the structure is GM from Med Device, assistant GM from Lee Medical, financial analyst from Med Device, lead sales rep from Lee Medical. And then from there, we're going to hire 2 more. And then we're going to hire 3 more, 2 from Lee Medical and 1 from Med Device. Which technically will be the subject matter expert. So he's already on staff. So if that's what I'm understanding correctly.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen, I think we have an agreement. Thank you for meeting.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Nice to do business with you.
Nice doing business with you, Mr. Lee.